Good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday night again, so it's the Terry McGrill Show right here on 904 Live. We got a really good and exciting show for you tonight. We're going to talk a little bit of Mr. Kenny Stills got into it with our lovely law enforcement at a protest rally. We're going to talk some NBA basketball. We're going to also go over continue our NFL series, starting with, we're going to deal with the NFC East and go through that division and a couple of more things as we get ready to talk some football in this Corona field, all kind of different 2020 year. It has us doing all kind of crazy things and seeing all kind of crazy stuff. I'm going to bring in my illustrious co-host right here, Andre L. Sullivan, 9:30 The Game. Andre, man, how's it going, man?
I'm doing well.
Man, just another kind of crazy week. We got some more interesting things going on. We're going to start with Mr. Kenny Stills. I happen to have done some things with his dad. Great man, Mr. Stills, Kenny Stills Sr. But there's a report out here that's been hitting the airwaves about Kenny Stills getting arrested along with a few other people. Let's keep that in there. That he was at a rally and somehow he was considered to be intimidating. How hard is it not to be an NFL football and you stand in somebody, somebody's not going to be intimidated by the NFL football player? Was it more than that? I'd like to say so. They didn't really come up with a whole new things, but obviously his name was the only one that was put in the news when it was a whole, but like at least 87 other people. So I'll take it with a grain of salt. I know about his father, so if it's anything like his father, I kind of give him a pass on this.
Well, the story was broke this morning by ESPN. Kenny Stills, and like you said, there were more people. There were 87 other individuals who were arrested and booked this morning at 11:26 in Louisville, Kentucky. And what they were doing were protesting the killing of Breonna Taylor. A lot of people don't know Breonna Taylor was a medical technician who was killed inside of her home by policemen who served a search warrant for drugs, and no drugs were found. And I just want to put that out there before everybody jump on them. Now, Kenny Stills was arrested because they were protesting at Attorney General of Kentucky, Daniel Cameron's house. I think people need to know that it was at his house, not the court, not the regular. It was at bro house. And he was arrested for intimidation and trespassing. And a lot of people don't know that trespassing and intimidation, the way law works, kind of run hand in hand.
Depending on the state.
And Kentucky is one of those states. And why it was intimidation, because you were trying to, the way the law works in Kentucky is what they were trying to influence a law change and a conviction possibly by Attorney General Daniel Cameron in Kentucky. Now, Kenny Stills, like you said, was booked this morning at 11:26 along with 87 other people. I am for the cause. I'm for the march, for the protest. I believe the policeman who shot Breonna Taylor in her own home need to be in jail. You guys. And this is to Kenny Stills, 87 other people, and everyone around the world. Going to their house won't get it done. I love it. I love the motivation behind it. I love the purpose that we were trying to get. Kenny Stills, even after he was released from jail, he was released, said, we want justice. We just wanted Breonna Taylor's killers arrested.
I'm just listening at some of the
Daniel Cameron, the Attorney General, will not be inclined to do anything, because he hasn't been inclined to do anything thus far. He definitely won't be inclined to do anything you showing up on his front porch. So, and I'm not trying to make light of the situation, because it is a very, very serious situation. But at the end of the day, you guys, there's certain ways to go about things. They've already thrown the book at us in so many other ways, and this is one of those times where they use the law to justify the means of what they've done. And not only Kenny Stills' arrest, but also Breonna Taylor's. So, Breonna Taylor's killing. And so, if we're going to get things done, it just has to be a quote-unquote way of doing things. And showing up on the Attorney General's house in doorstep probably wasn't the best move.
You're right. I think if you're going to protest at this point, everybody's protested in the streets and on the different places. They even went to the White House, and you see what that got them, a photo op. Secondly, if you want to go protest, I'd say you go to the halls of your state senate and your congressman, your federal congressman. You go to their offices. You raise a cane in their offices. You send letters. You make phone calls. You do everything you have to do within the law to the lawmakers. All these other people are not the lawmakers. They're the enforcers of the law, the interpreters of the law. But go to the lawmakers. We can do all the protesting until the cows come home.
Yeah.
Until we go to the lawmakers and tell them that their jobs are on the line. If they don't do what the people want them to do, ain't nothing gonna get done, and they know that. That's why they've been just coy with it. You got a few people fighting for the cause, but the rest of them going about their normal daily lives because it doesn't change anything. We haven't affected them.
Right.
Until you start affecting those lawmakers, the lawmakers, not the law enforcers, not the law interpreters. So I want everybody to get done. Kenny Stills, I really understand what he was trying to do. He was trying to be a leader in the community, and he was doing I know he has good upbringing. He wants to do the right thing, and he was trying to do the right thing because he don't even live in Kentucky.
No, he's not from Louisville at all.
He plays for the Houston Texans. He played for the Miami Dolphins before that. He is not a Kentucky guy. So obviously it was something going on there. He felt compelled to go be a part of that, like so many other athletes that are using their platform to try to do something for good. And all these people are trying to do something good. I think there should be a little bit more people that are trying to take that energy and channel it in the areas that really be more effective. I really do. I'm agreeing with the protesting, but I think more of the protesting now should be done on Capitol Hill and all the places where those people can really feel their pain and their anger. And their jobs should be placed on the line. Just like if you and my job were in jeopardy, if we didn't do our job, we're going to get called on the carpet. The people need to call these lawmakers on the carpet if you want stuff to get done. Well, we're doing it right now. They've been doing that for the last 100 years, at least to the civil rights movement. They didn't until you go on to where their job is and demand that their job are on the line, Republican, Democrat, Independent, it don't matter. Use pressure all of them depending on what you need, and then you'll get the change that you're looking for.
And please understand that this story is getting weight off of the strength that Kenny Stills got arrested. Mm-hmm. Had any of those other 87 people got arrested, it would have just been another story that would hit the fan and been moved by the time 3 o'clock drive got to the everything else. But it's a story now because Kenny Stills got arrested, and he knows that. And kudos to him and his team for taking that risk, because now you got a felony in Kentucky. But but at the end of the day, I applaud you, Mr. Stills. But at the end of the day, there's another way to get it done, and we can't have our good fighting men behind bars because we won't win any battle back there. And so I wish safety on all those out there still protesting and fighting a good fight. We still need Breonna Taylor's killers brought to justice. She got shot 8 times in her home, and she's a medical technician. By the way, they served a warrant for drugs, and there were no drugs found. So, yeah, I mean, we still want that. And so, but to Mr. Stills and all of those other people protesting right there where it happened in Louisville, keep the pressure on Attorney General Daniel Cameron. Just do it within the law. That way they won't have any excuse to put you behind bars.
Well, I'm not just that. You got to go after their city councilman, their mayor, their state congressmen and their state senators, the federal congressmen and federal senators. I'm going to reiterate it. Nothing gets done till the pressure is put on the lawmakers. I hope everybody understand that. You can do all the protesting you want to. They're going to watch it on TV just like the rest of us watching on TV and go about their normal daily lives because you're not threatening their job. They got really good jobs, y'all, really good benefits, and they like to keep them. They get perks from all the lobbyists for all the different things that they want, and nobody really goes and goes after the lawmakers who really is the ones that are going to affect the change. All the other protests are wonderful. I'm glad about the solidarity between all of us, but until we do it the right way, the change is not going to be effective. No different than if you don't run the play right, you ain't going to score.
Amen.
And we're going to get ready to take our first break. I mean, we had a little bit of, we didn't really argue too much about that. We kind of agreed on that a lot.
It's coming.
You're right. So we'll get on to our next show. We're going to go ahead and pay some bills, and we'll be right back here on 904 Live on the Terry McGriff Show.
Here are 3 things you need to know about Tunis Wings and Subs. They have 3 convenient locations on North Main Street, University Boulevard, and Sutel Drive. They have the best wings in Jacksonville.
My favorite kind of wings probably had to be the hot, just hot, regular hot.
It's not just wings, it's gyros, shrimp, Philly cheesesteak, salads, burgers.
The Tunis Gyro is my favorite.
It's to die for.
So dine in or drive through at Tunis Wings and Subs.
Want some good fried food? Come see Tunis.
Welcome to San Sebastian Winery. My name is Mike. I'd like to personally invite you to come and join me and the others for a tour of our facility.
The tasting starts with a tour where we witness a video and then walk through our facility here and then come down to the tasting counter to taste 7 to 8 different wines.
Our job here at the winery is to show them a good time, also educate them no matter what their knowledge level is about wine. We always enjoy having them leave here with a little bit more than they came.
When we've concluded the tasting, we talk about taking some time to go through the store, go through the shop, look at the wine accessories that we have, decanters, glasses, venturis, aerators. It's a wonderful experience.
We have one aspect of the building that is extremely special. It holds the barrels that hold our fortified dessert line of port, and it is a beauty. It's a young ruby port, and we're very proud of it.
We limit our tours to about 25 people for a reason. We do not want big, gigantic tours where you feel like you're just one of many.
I believe the best part of the tour is at the tasting counter, where we have a little bit more personal interaction with our customers.
I love to sit around, talk about good wine and how it's made, where it comes from, all of those good things. And I enjoy sharing that with my guests here at the winery also.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. For more information, please feel free to peruse the rest of the site or call 904-826-1594. Thank you very much, and come by and enjoy a taste of history.
Hey, we're here at Cedar Key and we're doing a beach seafood
Extravaganza.
extravaganza. I say extravaganza. It doesn't matter what we say. It's going to be amazing.
We've got about 4 large Florida onions. Awesome smoked pork sausage. I got these Florida little potatoes to sweeten up our dish. Florida sweet corn. Handful of garlic cloves, some boil in a bag, seasonings. Ooh. Florida clams. Florida spiny lobster. Get out of there. Florida shrimp. Ooh. Florida blue crab.
Woo. Chef Justin just fired this thing up. I feel like we're at NASA. I feel like this thing's about to take off. It's getting really hot. He's going to put a big old pot on it and fill it full of seafood. Ah! See? Told you.
Look at this bounty of seafood we have.
This is definitely a bounty. You don't see bounties a lot anymore.
I'm ready to start cooking you. I'm gonna add a little bit of vegetable oil here. We got our onions. They're going in. Work that around. Woo!
You're doing the college football, right?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Terry McGriff Show right here on 904 Live with my illustrious co-host, Andre L. Sullivan, at 9:30 The Game. Man, I'm really wondering now. That all gung-ho we had a couple of shows ago, we just knew football was going to go on without a hitch. Regardless, we know football happened. We came and said they're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to play ball. And now the last couple of weeks, they allowed the guys to come in and do their workouts, volunteering. They've been testing some of the guys. They've allowed them to, some guys had to go and get quarantined and they come back. Then you had Kansas State first. They had some numbers. Then they got even more COVID testing. They shut the workouts down. I think they're getting ready to start back up here real quick. I heard was watching a couple of news broadcasts, and the athletic director was on there, so they're getting ready to start back up. Same thing has just recently happened with Ohio State. And the crazy thing about that, all of their players signed documents stating that they wouldn't hold the school hold school responsible for this, and they understood that they were taking a risk. And they even shut their program down. Now you have the thing, the Big Ten came out in the last couple of days stating that they're now only going to play conference games. And then you just recently told me during the break, the Pac-10 followed suit. They're only going to play conference games. The dominoes are getting ready to fall here because with these teams, especially at the lower level schools, needing those paychecks, they're not going to get those paychecks from those, beat me up games. So it's going to be some domino effects because we already talked on a couple other shows, like where Stanford, they basically shut down some other athletic programs to make sure they had money set aside for the football program. And we just want to, I'm going to be funny. I mean, not funny. I'm going to be really looking to see how this affects the rest of college football. Now you got 2 Power 5 conferences going to non-conference only games. Not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the SEC and the ACC follow suit. I want to get your opinion on it.
So here's the thing that's happening. The Pac-12, they decided a while back, they were going to do conference-only games. So these schools are California, Oregon, Oregon State, Stanford, Washington State, Arizona State, Colorado, UCLA, USC, Utah. Out of the schools that I just named,
none of them ready we're going to be in the playoffs.
All right, great. Thank you. I'm glad we can move on. Then we got the Big Ten.
Ohio State,
Michigan, Michigan State. If I keep going, but that's my point. Granted, I understand. They're taking precautions as they should, but these schools, these conferences, aren't those movers and shakers as far as national college football is concerned.
Right.
And that's not a detriment statement to them. That's just calling the cat the cat. And so, yes, they've canceled a lot of games that are that we start off real big. USC and Alabama got canceled.
Michigan State and Miami.
And
a few years ago, that might have been a big game.
Right. And so the list goes on and on. And so there's 2 conferences that you said that have yet to say anything. And that's the SEC and the ACC.
Yep. And the Big 10, Big 12, whatever they used to
The Big 12,
Oklahoma's conference in Texas.
Conference USA, the American Conference. And so, like you said, dominoes are about to fall. But until the domino falls, nothing has changed the status quo. And what I mean by the domino, until the SEC comes out and says we're only playing conference games, college football goes as college football goes. That's not a detriment to the Pac-12, the Big 10, the Big 12, American Conference, or anybody, and those are the Power 5. But as the SEC moves, so does college football. Those Alabamas, those Floridas, those Mississippi States, those Mizzous, those Texas A&Ms, they control what college football does. If anybody is affected right now, it's Notre Dame.
Yes.
Because you don't want to join a conference right now, so you might just be playing warm-up games within your own self.
In the squad scrimmages, or
right?
JV.
You might just have a big blue and gold game up until December, and so yes, it sucks because now we won't get to see those big interconference games at the beginning of the season. But you mean to tell me, come December, Ohio State sitting undefeated, they're not gonna come down here and play somebody to possibly go to the playoffs? And you mean to tell me that if UCLA or USC,
you're twisting this a little bit, okay?
USC going undefeated in their own conference, and it's time to start picking those 4 teams to go to the playoffs, that we not coming? Some minds might get changed around here. And so, yeah, right now it's all good press, it's all good media, it's all good to say. But we know college football, and the money is involved, and you telling me you're not gonna send your boys to Alabama? If Alabama calls in December, say, hey, we want to play, we got time.
Yeah, I got you. But like I said, that all depends on a few variables we got here. You got scheduling, they're going to have to work the scheduling out. We still haven't talked about who's going to get in the stadium. Are they going to have a full stadium? Are they going to do like some of these NFL teams, 25% capacity? And who do you say don't get to come in? You going to tell the boosters they not coming in? You going to tell the students they not coming in? That's going to be interesting. On top of, like I said, the domino effect, what my main point was about this was, with these smaller schools, your Bethune-Cookmans that go and play University of Miami's, your North Carolina A&Ts who go play the University of North Carolina or North Carolina State, those schools, the Appalachian State, but they'll even play a big money game. Those schools that are counting on those few hundred thousands of dollars, the ripple effects as we go past the football season is going to be huge. It's already affected the really, really smaller schools. The junior college, National Junior College Association, totally shut down fall sports. All junior colleges. So there's another big feeder for your D1 guys that are coming in, your transfers from the junior college. You got probably a lot more talent on some of them junior college teams than you got on some of these smaller Division I teams. And those guys are now who are expecting to come in just to play a semester or two, get their grades caught up and be gone, get a new scholarship somewhere, and be getting filmed so that they can go and get themselves re-recruited. They're going to be really like, oh, Lord have mercy. I put an interview on my Facebook page, a good friend of mine for Arkansas Baptist College. He had an interview and he was talking about what their plans was. He tried to put a good positive spin on it, that he's telling those guys that, hey, we normally just get you ready for the season. Now we'll get a chance to get you bigger, stronger, faster, so when you do get into a program, you can come right in. A lot of these guys that get those scholarships, they're already that dude anyway. So all the ripple effects from them just making this decision to play in non-conference games on those two conferences is going to make huge impact. If the SEC does it, boy. But you're talking about 12 schools who pay handsomely to have their homecoming game, and most of these schools usually do two of them. They usually don't do just one. They usually do two of them because they have their games, and they have they usually have their little warm-up game, and then they have their homecoming throwaway game before they play, either before or after they play that rivalry. So it's going to put a big monkey wrench in all the smaller programs. Then especially you're talking about your Division II, your HBCUs, all these schools that really depend on that money from these colleges. So, and like I said, once again, Stanford, when they cut out 12 programs and now they aren't going to have any non-conference games, they're going to pay out. I think it's some people trying to figure out what they're going to do budget-wise to make sure that they don't lose their shirts this season, and it's going to affect a lot of the rest of college football and how they're going to do it.
I mean, like you said, NGCAA president and CEO Christopher Parker did say they're moving junior college football, at least that one sport, to the spring. He made a statement saying, our most recent plan of action provides a plan that keeps our student athletes competing at the highest level with proper and safe measures in place. Here's the thing that I want to stress to our viewers and everyone out there. Football is going to happen. We don't know when it's going to happen for everyone, but it's going to happen. And if I was a betting man, come time where it starts to matter, football is going to be there. And so, like you said, dominoes are already falling. But me personally, I'm waiting for that big domino in the SEC to fall to see how they move.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big. Football, like you said, is going to happen. Everybody's more concerned with the big boys. We obviously know the Big Five power conferences. We all know. We're going to find out what the SEC is going to do, especially starting with Alabama, and everything will roll off of that. But at least we forget about all these other student athletes that are trying to find their way. You got certain states here just going, we're going to go into a little bit of high school with it. Certain states not playing fall sports. You got juniors and seniors, rising juniors that'll be going into, the sophomores will be going into their junior year to really get themselves out there. You got these kids that was looking to finalize their recruiting process, especially if they want a top tier guy coming into their senior year, looking to get that big year to secure a scholarship. Now they've been pushed in a pile back now because those guys in junior college just got moved their stuff back into the spring. It's going to be a whole bunch. And then you got to think about it. What are they going to do? They're going to play spring ball, Are they going to play spring ball, take a couple of weeks off and get ready for fall again? And it's going to be, because they still got to go out and re-recruit. It's going to be really interesting how people plan for this thing. And I don't know, it's because you can tell right now people are doing last-minute decisions. Football saw this coming because they had, ever since March, to kind of make decisions. We don't know why it's taken so long for them to make these decisions. We didn't know why it's so long for everybody not to get on the same page, which is really a whole nother conversation in itself. Why didn't the Power Fives just say, hey, NCAA, you're going to sit this one out this year? We're going to handle our own little business amongst ourselves.
Like you said, that's a conversation upon itself.
Yeah, and that could have probably really alleviated a lot of this, because I know the smaller schools are not in the national title conversation. Heck, we know Pac-12 ain't even in the national title conversation. Unless somebody hopping some miracle, we got some kids come out of the woodwork that's just better than everybody ever saw, and put them in the conversation. But I don't see that happening. The ripple effects of this may last more than just this season, and I'm going to be very interested to follow how these decisions being made, because watching some of the national sports, there's a disagreement whether they even have college football this season. Some folks are agreeing, some folks thinking they are, some folks not, and that's a whole different mindset than it was way back even 2 weeks ago when everybody knew that there was going to be college football. So we're getting ready to take our next break. And guys, keep hitting us up on the comments. We appreciate you. We're going to pay some bills. Please patronize our sponsors. And we'll be right back on the Terry McGriff Show right here on 904live.com.
In a historically industrial building in St. Augustine, there's a cool craft taking place with a vintage vibe.
We realize that we're cocktail nerds.
Step into the Ice Plant experience, an authentic taste of the 20s. Here, cocktails are serious business.
We do everything vintage style, handcrafted, hand cutter ice. We use fresh juices, house-made syrups, tonics.
Settled into a lovingly preserved building, an original ice plant that operated to support the local fishing and shrimping industry from the 1920s. This bar and restaurant freezes a moment in time for you to drink in. There's a seasonally inspired menu of scrumptious farm-to-table dishes and architecture to stretch your neck. But their specialty, of course, is ice.
Because it's really important if you're serious about cocktails. The idea being that the ice is extremely clear and pure and dense.
In the form of columns to cubes to spheres. It's all handcrafted to control the rate of dilution and adorn the right drink. Best seat in the house is at the bar, where you can catch the action and take the bartenders up on their crafty creations. Then sip your spirits on the patio and soak up another beautiful Florida day. Chillin' at the Ice Plant in St. Augustine. I'm Janice Jones for Visit Florida.
Amore Creations by Jabri. We are a professional wedding and event planning business that specializes in many different events, such as intimate proposal dinners, wedding anniversary, birthday parties, and much more. Your event will come alive with elegance and professionalism that will woo your guests and have them wanting more. So, call us for your next special event. Our representatives are waiting to schedule your free consultation. Dial 877-866-9010, extension 700. Visit our website at amorecreationsbyjabri.com. Amore Creations, a one-stop shop in making your dreams come true. Amore Creations
by Jabri.
904live.com, Jacksonville's #1 local digital television with live local entertainment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 904live.com.
Welcome back to the Terry McGriff Show right here on 904live.com. Once again, my illustrious co-host, Andre L. Sullivan of 930 The Game. Andre, we're going to continue our series with the NFL, going by division. And this week we have the NFC East. An interesting division. You know, pretty much the last couple of years, been teased by the Cowboys, basically dominated by the Eagles. You know, it's amazing how a team who hasn't won nothing in the last few years gets so much play over a team that's been to the Super Bowl. And you got, it seems like this division probably gets more national pub overall than any other division in the National Football League. I guess for obvious reasons, but it's also because it's the kind of strangest, for years been the strangestly aligned division. I remember when they had the St. Louis Cardinals way back in the day when you was probably a little teeny Mike. In the Midwest, you still have the Dallas Cowboys are in the Midwest, but their division is in the East, along with Philadelphia and Washington. So it's kind of strange, the whole division, but it's one of the most storied divisions in the National Football League. So, and everybody in there is great. One of the things has been a Super Bowl champion. That's one of the unique things about that division. And we're going to start out with we'll go bottom to top, starting with the non-named Washington franchise. They basically retired the name and the logo. There has been no mention of retiring the colors, so I guess they're going to keep the same color scheme, which I actually like. I used to love the white jersey and the burgundy pants, so that was one of my favorite NFL uniforms. The fact of the matter is, I think to me it's a simple fix with the name. You just go to the Native American community and ask them what they would think would be appropriate, and you could have kept the same logo. You know what I mean? Or maybe if they've decided you to change it, because the history of the colors and the logo to me is not as offensive as what they called the logo. You know what I mean? So. But let's get back to their players. Been a little rough spell. They had some really bright spots. Their defensive line's been, they drafted well there. They've done a good job. They had a great rookie receiver, Terry McLaurin out of Ohio State, had a really good season. Quarterback still in question, that's going to be a very interesting. We didn't even get a chance to I didn't mention bringing new leadership in, Mr. Rivera come in as to be the new head coach, and now to be charged with the name change of the organization too. They're the same franchise that had I forgot his name just right off the top of my head, had the tragic leg break. Alex Smith, and so they got a lot of interesting news going on. One of the best running backs in history, Adrian Peterson, still on the roster. A lot of injuries at that position, a lot of losses. They traded away their best left tackle to the 49ers. It's just been story after story after story with no wins from a team that hadn't won nothing. Then I'll let you talk about Lou, and then we'll go on to the Giants a little bit.
Well, the Washington team, 3-13 last season. And a lot of that had to do with quarterback play. And, of course, like you mentioned, Alex Smith went down with the tragic injury that seems to plague Washington. It actually happened on the same leg, same play, same day as Joe Theismann. So that was interesting. But it all starts with him. And they actually brought in Kyle Allen to kind of battle for that quarterback spot, if we want to call that a battle, if you will. But, you mentioned Terry McLaurin, who was a bright spot for that wide receiving core. They still, like you said, got Adrian Peterson, but he plays behind Darius Geis.
Who's been injured.
And so, their bright spot on this team has to be their defense. When you have Ryan Kerrigan, Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen, Darren Payne, and now you add Chase Young to the picture, along with linebackers like Reuben Foster and John Bostic.
If he can keep his head on straight.
There you go. But you still got now you have Thomas Davis Sr. to that mix.
Would have some stability there.
Right. Landon Collins back there at the free. It's Sean Davis and Fabian Moreau. So the defense obviously holds their own, but, new coach, new plan. They have the old Jaguars head coach as their defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. But, this team... Right now, the only way they can go is up, because going down ain't looking so far. They don't have far to go down. So that's why I say the only way they have to go is up. So, we'll look to see what the Washington team brings to the NFC East this year.
Well, moving on. we got a really interesting franchise. I'm not going to call them up and coming. They get a lot of press, obviously, because they do have some names, and they had some names here and there. You know, starting with Saquon Barkley, who, you know, he's probably the most talented running back in the league. If he's not the most talented, he's one of the top 3 most talented running backs, and football players just overall in the National Football League. They drafted Daniel Jones, who was okay. He was okay enough that they allowed Eli to retire. They're still a work in progress on just about every side, both sides of the ball. They've got pieces here and there, but nothing that makes you say, we gotta watch out for this guy. You know what I mean? And so Evan Ingram, I do like him. I'll give it back. He's an up and coming tight end and has done some stuff when he's healthy. Other than that, they've been a sieve on the offensive line, so they've drafted to try to get better at that. I just don't see them doing anything. I wouldn't be surprised if the Washington franchise passes them this year.
I don't know. Here's the thing. You know,
new head coach there too.
Anybody that, and it's not a knock on Eli Manning, but anybody who can come into a quarterback room where Eli Manning is sitting, well, just the last name Manning is sitting, and be able to take that spot, you have to tip your hat to them. And so I can see Daniel Jones progressing. It's a very, very slow progression. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting him in the elite quarterback level yet, but you can see the progression there because behind him is Colt McCoy.
I was about to say they don't have anybody behind.
And Cooper Rush. I rest my case there. And
it's him or nothing.
Right, exactly. And so you mentioned their offensive line. They have Nate Solder holding down left tackle right here. One of the probably the underrated tackles in the NFL that doesn't get enough credit. And then outside they got Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard.
Serviceable.
Right. If they can get the ball to those horses, they're gone.
That's why I mentioned Evan Ingram.
It's exactly. When you have Evan Ingram doesn't get the credit he deserves in the run game. A lot of Saquon Barkley's runs came off of Evan Ingram's backside.
That's the Giants. That's the Jaguars.
You know what I'm saying? So I can see this offense moving. What I'm concerned about is the other side of the ball. Name me a star outside of Leonard Williams on this defense.
Do you consider Leonard Williams a star? He's a name.
But here's my thing. He's a name that you know. Okay. But that's my point. That's all a star is. I didn't say a great athlete. I didn't say a great player. I said a star.
I ain't knocking on Leonard's a local boy that I know. So hey,
right.
Much love to Leonard Williams.
But that's my point. Name somebody on this defense. I'll start naming them for you. Dexter Lawrence.
Okay.
Dalvin Tomlinson, Marcus Golden, David Mayo, Blake Martinez, Lorenzo Carter, DeAndre Baker, Jabril Peppers, maybe, Xavier McKinney, James Bradbury. I rest my case. And so that's my concern with this Giants team because you have very serviceable and somewhat a little star power on this offensive side of the ball, but when they're not on the field, there's questions on this defense. And so in that, I have a problem with this team because you got to be able to give your offense a rest. It should be 50-50, and right now it's looking more 70-30. And so that is my problem with the Giants. Like you said, new coach coming in again. So it'll be interesting to see what this team does to push that needle forward to get a little bit more equal. But right now, I don't see where that happens. I don't see the Redskins overtaking them, but I don't see them being able to hold par with the Cowboys and Eagles.
I can understand your argument there, but that's like saying who's gonna get the last sip of tea. You know what I mean when it comes to those two, because neither one of them really right now are going to be relevant in the NFC. They're going to be fighting for respectability at best, especially when you got a brand new coach coming in. I think he was one of the special teams coach, much heralded for a guy that wasn't a name during the whole hiring process. He kind of cropped up through some recommendations from the Belichick mostly, and some other people that may have known what he done outside of the limelight. And so he's one of those guys that was not a coordinator, and now they're singing his praises like he's going to be the next coming of Belichick. You know, he's this great organizer, this great motivator. Well, that's wonderful, but we got to see when you don't have that shelter of that Patriots organization to allow you to do that. You didn't have to worry about doing all the press conferences. You didn't have to do the late night phone calls and all the things that a head coach is required to do. So, hoping that he does a good job. I always had a little soft spot in my heart because I have family that played for the Giants, so always gonna have love for the Giants. But with that being said, since Coughlin, this is their third now head coach. After a while, you got to question what's going on upstairs with the decision making, and also, are they going to allow somebody to chance to build the program if they gave this guy the reins to the ship? I mean, to the keys to the castle and the ship, and now all of a sudden you pulled him out of here. So what was you seeing that you hired him, and then you decided that I'm going to pull that quick plug on him now? Because I don't think did either one of those guys go past 3 years?
No.
So what's the problem that this guy that you believed in enough to hire, that you pull the rug back quickly? And so if this guy doesn't make it, is it really him? Because you got it, like I said, you got a guy who was not a coordinator. No knock on him. You got other guys that have been able to do it, come from being a non-coordinator to being a good head coach. So we're gonna see how this works out. I wish him lots of luck. But if it doesn't, you got to question your general manager and what the ownership are seeing when they start making this hiring process. Not to mention, there's been a lot of minority candidates that didn't get this job. You had a gentleman over there in Kansas City who would have knew exactly what to do with the type of talent that he would have been given with this Giants job. I guarantee you he would have known what to do with Saquon Barkley. You know. So, with that said, we're going to finish this up after break and get the two relevant teams in the division. And we'll be right back on the Terry McGriff Show on 904 Live.
Taste that Caribbean sunrise, bakery, curry jerk and oxtails, flavor savory. Taste that Caribbean sunrise, so happy to feast. Come dine and unwind, Caribbean sunrise.
The finest authentic Caribbean cuisine, yeah man, curried shrimp, daily specials and much more. Caribbean Sunrise Bakery.
I'm back here with my illustrious co-host, Andre L. Sullivan. Andre, please, I am confused about the Dallas Cowboys. One thing I have to give them before I go into this confusion thing is they are the best marketing organization in the history of sports. And the reason I say that, because year in, year out, they relevant dang near every week of the year when it comes to football. They're always in the news. And when the last time they've been to the Super Bowl? Everybody's always think they're going to win the division. And they always seem to have star players. So that is outstanding marketing, in my opinion. From the fact that they call themselves America's team, and I don't know where they got that from, because they sure ain't my favorite team. And I do respect them, but they're not my favorite team. And they definitely not the country's favorite team. But they do have a big following. Give them that. But for a team that has, for outside of the 70s, 80s, and a little part of the 90s, has been basically irrelevant when it comes to playoffs. How many games Tony won, playoff games Tony Romo won? Less than Blake Bortles. That's pretty pathetic. And they got star upon star upon star. You hear name after name after name. And then they were relevant all the way up to the getting ready to win the division and then missed the playoffs. And it seems always a reason they missed the playoffs. And when they did get in the playoffs that year, Dak, rookie year, played a great game. They lost it to Green Bay. But the next year they're going to be this team and they're going to be that team. But I just have a problem with the so much overlove. That's what best way I'm going to use it. Overlove for the Dallas Cowboys for a team that hasn't been a real winner in a while.
Well, let me first make the statement that I think it has less to do with their market team and more to do with their market. Dallas is one of the top 10 markets media-wise, period, in the country. Mm-hmm. And so the Arlington, Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth area just has a lot that can bring players in. Now let's get to football. Okay. Jerry Jones, to his detriment and to his betterment, is a dictator. And what I mean by to his detriment, sometimes it hurts the team. Sometimes it gets away from the point.
Yeah, you're right.
To his betterment, he gets the job done. However he chooses to get it done is his preference, whether you like it or not is your opinion. Yeah, but he gets the job done. And so, you know, we saw them in the offseason this year because of one person. And that one person, in my personal opinion, is the person that these persons have to listen to be the person at the end of the season. And that being Dak Prescott. You know, we can talk all day about how talented Dak Prescott is. We can talk all day about how strong he is, how strong his arm is, how, you know, how tough he is.
His pregame workout routine.
All of that extra stuff that he does with his hips for pre-games and all of that good stuff. But it doesn't matter if you don't get it done between the lines. I think this year we see a better Dak Prescott than we've ever seen, all for one reason alone. It's because there's an Andy Dalton behind him.
Really?
Hear me out. Okay. Hear me out. There's an Andy Dalton behind him who's willing to push him. Now, Dak Prescott has locked up that starting job. I'm not coming in here and saying Andy Dalton is going to challenge him for it or even compete for it. But there's someone in the quarterback room with you. When history has shown us, when there's someone in the quarterback room with you, either someone's going to come up and someone's going to fall. We saw that last year in Tennessee with Marcus Mariota and Ryan Tannehill. We saw it numerous other times. We saw it last year with Daniel Jones and Eli Manning. We talked about the Giants earlier. Dak Prescott now has somebody to push him. Now we can start going down the line. Ezekiel Elliott is Ezekiel Elliott. It's the reason why he's got that check, because he's that guy. They got Amari Cooper, who's a bona fide #1 receiver. They got Michael Gallup, who's serviceable, but now they got a CeeDee Lamb. And I'm not saying that flips the table in their advantage, but them having a CeeDee Lamb gives them more of a chance to free up Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. They're going to have a big issue this year at tight end, because this year, more than any other year that they've ever dealt with, they don't have that tight end that Prescott has been relying on. They got a few issues that they got to work out on the offensive line, but I think the most underrated pickup that they've done this year is the addition of Gerald McCoy. Gerald McCoy can put his hand in the dirt at the 1 technique or the 3 technique and wreak havoc. And you know, yeah, they got HaHa Clinton Dix back there. They got Xavier Woods and Trayvon Diggs back there. Them having Gerald McCoy in the trenches means numerous amounts of things when you're playing the Eagles. It means numerous amounts of things when you're playing the Washington whoever's. And it means a million things when you're playing a team that can get off of the ball and have a quarterback back there that just wants to stand in the pocket. Because you can't do that when you have a Gerald McCoy.
You're right. They have the one thing that was not been the issue with the Cowboys the last couple of years has been defense. They've been able to get out of the quarterback. They got names upon names, especially on the front end of the defense. You know, they lost their best defensive back to the Dolphins, but I think the fact that they're solid enough up front, you're not going to really run the ball on them. Gerald McCoy does add the dimension in the run and in the pass game. The problem is, it always seems to be something that goes wrong. All right, they seem to be start hot, then they'll have a lull. There's always been something when everybody gives them the benefit of the doubt of Dallas this is Dallas year. They're going to do that. They're going to do this, and then it somewhere falls apart and they never get it done. Even if they make it to the playoffs, they didn't get it done. Something happens. So what do? They bring in Mike McCarthy, a very good head coach with a Super Bowl pedigree. The question is he going to be the head coach, or is he going to be the head puppet? Because like you stated earlier, Jerry Jones is Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is going to do what Jerry Jones wants to do. Case in fact, Jerry Jones always has an opinion about everything else, but with this Black Lives Matter, he's been mute.
I'm okay with that.
I understand, but for a person that always has something to say, now you ain't got nothing to say.
I'm okay with that.
Sometimes silence says a lot.
And
I got you. We ain't. This ain't what this talk about.
Right.
But my point is to go as Jerry Jones does what Jerry Jones wants to do.
Absolutely.
Now, for a man who got a Super Bowl ring on his finger, and he did it without your help, and you brought him in, is he gonna really be the man? Is he gonna be the man to allow to run this organization football-wise the way he wants it? Will there be that great marriage? Seems like they did a good job with the draft of getting what they may have wanted. You know, I didn't hear any things about it because CeeDee Lamb was a great name. You can't knock that pick. You know, if they'd have picked him in the top 5, you couldn't have knocked that pick. Right. Like I said, every year, everything seems like it's going along really, really well, and then something happens and they never get it done. Ever since, the Jimmy Johnson fiasco. And give Jerry Jones credit. Buying this organization and running it himself, he's become a better than average general manager, at least a personnel guy. He's brought in good free agents, he's drafted well, and he's paid most of these players pretty well. Guys that you thought wasn't going to get a contract, got a contract. And he's allowed himself with drafting Dak Prescott to build this team because you didn't have to pay the quarterback. Now it's time to pay this guy, and you franchise him. Could it be a shrewd move? In my opinion, it is a shrewd move because You don't have to pay him top of the line right now, but he's paying very well. He's getting the top average of the top 5. And then you can make him short again next year. And then if you really want to push it, you can make him short again next year, depending on what the salary cap goes up to.
I mean, they still got to play the Eagles.
Yep. But they still got to pay the Eagles and all that other stuff. Now, let's go back and talk about the Eagles. You're talking about a team that's done nothing but win. This division, they've won in the playoffs. They've been through, the guy who should have been the league MVP till he getting injured. I'm talking about Carson Wentz the year that the Eagles won it. He should have been the league MVP.
Mm-hmm.
That was just my opinion out there. Because the way they played, getting him to that point, for a young quarterback, he played way better than a lot of people thought. He was putting in that type of numbers that they kind of did Mahomes. He didn't have those numbers, but they were putting up points in droves on teams like that year until he got injured. And they were really the NFC favorite to go to the Super Bowl anyway until he got hurt, and then everybody thought the wheels were going to fall off. With that being said, he struggled with injuries. They've managed to win year in, year out in that division. They've managed to control that division, and they've managed to win playoff games, And, they got one of the better head coaches who don't get the respect as some of these other guys. He just doesn't have the name like that, but he wins. They've changed parts here and there on offense and defense, and they continue to get it done. And I don't see it changing until somebody shows me they're going to make it change.
About to break the glass on you.
Well, let's do it. We hadn't had a knockdown drag out.
No, not at all. And I agree with everything you said. Right now, I believe the Eagles do have a true hold on this division. I believe that hold is gonna get even stronger when they change quarterbacks.
Really? Okay.
Yes. And here's why. Carson Wentz.
I love him.
Carson Wentz is great. I love Carson Wentz. I believe he's a true general. I believe he can get the field down the ball. I believe he can get the ball down the field. I believe he can do all of that. Here's my problem.
You can't stay on the field.
Your best ability is availability. Mm-hmm. And in that, Carson Wentz has a true issue. And guess what they did? They know they have a true issue, so they went out and got Jalen Hurts. The moment Jalen Hurts get a chance to get a hold of that ball, we saw it. We saw it in Alabama.
Saw it even more.
We saw it even more in Oklahoma. If he gets a chance to get a hold of that ball with weapons like Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, Zach Ertz, he's not letting it go. And so my problem with
a pretty good offensive line, where he doesn't necessarily.
We didn't even talk about Andre Dillard, Isaac Seumalo, Jason Kelsey, Jason Peters, and Lane Johnson. But
they just brought Jason Peters back and moving him to guard.
We didn't even go into talking about Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Derek Bennett, Jalen Mills, Rodney McLeod, and Avonte Maddox. What I mean is, it has nothing against Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is a good QB. He's a good QB. I'm not knocking Carson Wentz. But if you can't stay on the field, you can't win. Mm-hmm. And that's why when you said he was that MVP talk, yeah, he was doing great. But the guy who's there around the time when you finish, that's the guy who's going to get it. Mm-hmm. And consistently, we've seen Carson Wentz have this problem. Mm-hmm. We saw it at North Dakota a little bit, which surprised me why the Eagles jumped up to get him. Mm-hmm. And so...
talent.
Right. But here's the problem. When talent can't be on the field, we don't get to see it.
Yeah, you're right.
Because as the old ball coaches used to say, the eye in the sky doesn't lie. With that eye can't see you, neither can the fans. And you can't rack up wins. And so the problem with this team has happened when Carson Wentz went down.
You're right.
Now they got somebody in the back waiting in the quarterback room who not injury prone. Mm-hmm. And he'll run you over.
Yeah.
And he'll run past you. And he'll throw over your head. So right now, the Eagles got a hold on this division. Mm-hmm. We can agree to that. But the Eagles can get a hold on this conference.
Really? We'll be discussing that as we go along.
Yeah. Okay.
Now we're gonna finish up the show with this. The one peculiar, strange thing that I want to find out what that could possibly break the Eagles is that one of the things is they have a strong bond with their fan base.
Yeah.
And the Eagles have come out and said that there will not be any fans in the stands this season. Most other NFL teams have said they're going to have 25% capacity. I remember Baltimore said that. The Jacksonville Jaguars have said that. But the Eagles have said they will have 0 fans in the stadium. First of all, I want to know how that went across in that city when they got the news for that. Secondly, how is that going to affect the play on the field when those guys, especially those veterans, been around them, been used to those fans being there for them? And they've had a huge advantage when you're talking about crowd noise, but because those fans are knowledgeable what they're doing.
Well, here's the thing, and not to cut you off, but they've come out and said they don't want it. It hasn't been a final decision yet because the mayor office of Philly is still in talks with the Eagles organization. And like you said, that more than any, I can't say more than any other fan base in the NFL, but just as much as the top team that you would think of in fandom, the Philly faithful are an interesting bunch, and they take their Eagles very seriously. And so, like, the mayor's office doesn't rule out fans at Philly games. I wouldn't rule out fans at Philly games. I can probably see them doing that 20%, 30% thing that the Jaguars and Baltimore came out with and said. But saying that there are no Philly fans in Lincoln Financial Field,
that's gonna be.
Yeah, I can't see that. Yeah, I don't think I want to live in a world where that happens. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
It's crazy as well. I think they're one of the first fan bases where they had to have the jail inside the stadium and stuff like that because they were so rowdy. And they're one of the few franchises in the National Football League that has a nationwide fan base. You can find Philly fans just about everywhere. You definitely find them here in North Florida. And they're going to be relevant again if they get that back that they've really been wanting to get, and they find a couple of other pieces to add, especially since they've had some losses on the defensive backfield. If they can shore that up, like you said, I'm not disagreeing with you, but they got to shore that up. They can make a run for the Super Bowl again. It was just a little bit of age and some injuries stopped them this year in the playoffs. And they're, like I said, they're one of the their coaching staff is one of the most underrated staffs in the National Football League. And I'm really interested in seeing what they do because they're going to be a part of the conversation the entire football season, if we have an entire football season. So I think I love the fact that we ended on them because they're actually, as we're talking about it, they're going to be so intriguing because of all the different things and because their roster, they have such a solid roster. They're going to be able to weather a lot of storms, like you said, that the Cowboys don't weather. You know what I mean? Even with those names. And that's why I said with the market, that's why I had this whole statement about the marketing. Well, we appreciate you guys being up with us this week. We had another good show. Going to see you guys same bat time, same bat channel next Wednesday. Once again, guys, take care of each other. Look out for each other. Make sure you're doing your social distancing, wearing your mask, doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, and love on each other, man. We're going through a really crazy time. 2020 is probably going to go down in history as one of the most infamous years in American history. When you look back in our history book for the things that we've done through as a nation, guys, stay positive. And we'll see you right back here next week on the Terry McGriff Show on 904 Live.